Good morning. Oh, hey, Theo. How are you? Just realized that's you. Alex, what's up, brother? Good morning. Well, there's definitely some carnage out there. So, Bank of England basically went from going quantitative tightening to quantitative easing overnight because their currency is getting so crushed. And of course, the catalyst last night was, Apple iPhone sales are what caused this gap down. Supposedly, obviously the market needs a catalyst, and Apple going down, well, they're heavily weighted, so they leave a dent. But it's nice to see TLT 20-year Treasury bonds. They have to start going back up. If they don't, you know, shit's gonna get ugly. Our system's dependent on interest rates, and usually the Treasury bond, when the market sucks ass, Treasuries, kind of hold flat or are green or maybe slightly red on the year. Whenever market has big extended drawdowns, and seeing our dollar going way up, that's not good either. Versus other global currencies going down. I try to not focus on any of that, but it is cool to learn, cool to know. We'll kind of see. I'm trying to keep it really simple in this market. I'm just going to keep my eyes on Apple and Tesla. They're pretty much the glue that might be holding everything together right now. So, if Apple begins to roll over, you can expect heavy market pressure. And it's crazy because I was thinking yesterday, imagine if this Biogen didn't go, 40% overnight, 50% overnight, and then, another company like Lilly, which was I ended up selling a piece yesterday at 328 and 332, 331, I think. So I did exit half my position. I was kind of, this was going to be a swing, but when you get paid that quickly, you got to take some off the table, which I did. So Lilly was a nice trade, which I still own, but this move was a little crazy last night and after hours. Yeah, it's not a typical hourly candlestick. Yeah, today should be an interesting day. Futures market opening up basically flat. Apple below that 148.5 mark, which was kind of like my area of interest, and it's kind of breaking below. That's going to open up below that. So, who the heck knows? Um, yeah, there could be a few reasons why Apple's positive in the market's positive in pre-market. One, the Bank of England is buying treasuries to stabilize their economy, so they go from tightening to easing, really quickly because of how crazy things were getting out there. And then seeing a TLT, which is 20-year Treasury bonds, go back up, that's going to ease a tiny little bit of market pressure. And then seeing the dollar go down, I mean, it's not a lot, right? But we'll see really what happens when market opens. And then, of course, I just mentioned Biogen, Lilly, companies with fairly big market caps, like Lilly's not a small company, guys. They're massive. They're absolutely massive, and they're heavily institutionally owned. I'm actually curious to see how they're weighted. I can't imagine much, but let's see. Well, it's not massive, but they're the 21st largest company in the S&P 500. So, you know, things like that. And then again, Biogen, and those are gonna hold things up. They're gonna stabilize things just a little bit. And again, a few of these things still look pretty good. Like if Merck doesn't start breaking down, I'm kind of curious how Pfizer looks. Pfizer's kind of breaking down. But, if Merck doesn't break down, some of these healthcare and biotech names, they carry some good amount of weight, towards the end of the season. They're basically in a forever uptrend. So, they do help stabilize things in the market more than, people might think. And yeah, Apple carries tons of weight. But, the news that came out, it was funny because Bloomberg dropped some news, and it was incomplete news. It was basically that they're shutting down 14 production lines because of lack of demand. And like, that's all they put in the article, which makes them a bunch of jackasses, really. Because the full complete story is they shut down 14 production lines for lack of demand for their base iPhone, all right? And they're using those 14 production lines for their Pro iPhone. So the more expensive model. So really the market just needed one more reason to capitulate a little bit lower. And really, the lower we go, you have to remember there's big players that have been net short on the market a long time. And, the move down, I've been saying it for a few days, it's a little too much too fast. And so, that extra little move down's their liquidity to cover positions. And again, we don't know how much lower things can go, but you couple that with the Bank of England saying, hey, you know what? We're going to start easing instead of tightening into a rising interest rate economy. Well, that was a smart move. So the question is will our federal government do the same? My guess is sooner rather than later. But I don't know. I don't know. I really try not to guess these kind of things. I try to learn it and understand the macro so I can make better informed decisions about certain names I might want to own, or what does well in certain environments, or what can drag a market down. Inflation obviously being one of those things. And understanding that our market's not going anywhere until the 20-year treasury starts to reverse course, and things aren't definitely going anywhere until the dollar starts to come down. These are important things to know because they help you make informed decisions, about swings. In a high inflationary period, stocks aren't really breaking out, guys. And the ones that are, they might be defensive names, or, it depends. Could be commodities like it was oil and gas at the beginning of the year. But Lilly worked out great, honestly. It was a way better trade than anticipated. So basically waking up at 52-week highs, I was expecting that to take, 10 days, and it happened overnight. So I'll take some luck whenever I can get it, especially in this market. And yeah, I sold half my position, and I'll be trailing the rest on the ascending 20 on the daily. So, I'm assuming my stop will probably be somewhere around 320 at market open, with the 20. But it was great. Morning, Steve. And yeah, like I said, eventually all it's bad as it'll get, it gets, and eventually things stop going down. And we'll see how the pound looks, We'll see how the pound looks later, how the treasury yield looks later. These things are important instruments. We want to see TLT going back up. You want to see TLT going back up. And not to mention, I want to see Apple going back up. They carry so much dang weight, But sooner rather than later, we would get an oversold rally. How long it lasts, I have no idea. You got to stay nimble until the market is in a clear uptrend, and it's definitely not in that at all. I did. Yeah. It was actually on stream. I even mentioned it on stream. I mean, if you go back and look at the YouTube that was uploaded yesterday, a lot of you guys that were in here yesterday know this thing was on pretty much my main screen the entire morning and middle of the day. I even tweeted about it yesterday in the afternoon. Over 312 was definitely a spot worth taking a peek at. It was right over yesterday's high, right over this high, and yeah, that was your entry, with a stop at low of day. Again, I know it's just a difficult market, but you still got to take your setups regardless of how shit things look. I mean, there are things that still do go up. But yeah, I bought Lily yesterday, and then I caught a gift in after hours, and I definitely don't look at a horse in its mouth. I take that gift. I took some of that money off the table. It was a huge move. It was like 10% for a mega cap like this is a big move. It was like 20 something dollars in a couple hours. I did. Yeah, I upload all the streams daily to YouTube. A real simple Arial, one word, and it'll be there. Good morning. What happened? Oh, no, no, nothing happened. I was walking the dogs. Besides, I hardly slept last night. I couldn't get the excitement of watching the futures market trading like small caps last night. Speaking of which, I'll probably be dabbling my toes here sooner rather than later in the futures market. Yeah, I mean they're great markets, they're great markets that don't sleep and they're highly liquid, so that's kind of the attractive part. Well, they're just contracts basically, but they're almost like shares in essence, but they're just contracts, and some contracts are worth more than others depending, what instrument you're trading, but I don't really know exactly how the 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 I know like sometimes it's like $7.50 per contract. That if it goes up like 50 cents or something, it's like $7.50 of value, or sometimes it's $25 or $12, depending again the instrument you're trading. So, but they're highly liquid, and all the futures markets are green right now. I almost can't believe it. And here's the crazy part. I keep talking shit about Bitcoin, but even while the market's been seeing brand new lows, Bitcoin refuses to, stop building this little base. It's kind of impressive, actually. I thought this thing would have died already. I guess if our markets go to $340, there's no stopping Bitcoin from going lower. Yeah, we'll see. Market open should be real interesting, honestly. How's the MPH looking? Been a couple days since I looked at these solar names. Well, I looked at them yesterday, but briefly. There's just nothing to do with them. Interesting. In a couple of days too, BJ's is back on the radar. Yeah, it's back on the ray. A couple more days. It just needs to give us a tight day. I mean, technically yesterday was a pretty tight day, but I don't, I don't want to buy it just like that. I'd rather see it set up a little bit better. Wow, that's a pretty odd candle. I guess not so much. Should be an interesting day out there. No, I didn't. Morning, man. Uh, I did not take a position in AMPS yesterday. My focus was Lily, and I kind of just passed on this because at the time it felt pretty illiquid, and not to mention our market looked like shit. So it was like two strikes against it. In the first hourly candlestick trade like 183,000 shares, and you know, realistically, if I was buying it like 1240, 1250, I'm probably taking like I don't know 10,000 shares or something at minimum, and it's just too liquid. I don't want to have that much impact on a stock. I wouldn't want to be that kind of trading volume in something that thin. It ended up working out great, but it just wasn't something I could do. Too thin, market sucked. That's why I really try to focus on names that are much more liquid. Because, and again, it ended up making a really nice move. It really did. So, an MAXN looks fine. Just needs to tighten up. There's nothing here just yet. A couple of weeks, really. I want to see the 50 flatten out. You see how it's just still in this little uptrend? I want to see it kind of flatten out a little bit. See the 10 and the 20 flatten out. But yeah, MAXN looks pretty solid, honestly. How's SPWR looking? A little bit worse. Yeah, somebody did call amps in here yesterday. I don't remember who it was. Could have been North or Pole, or I don't remember exactly who did it, but that was a nice call. Very nice. Oh, yep. Yep. And then I think he even said he had to like go and he's like scalped it, I believe. I don't know if he was in there for the full move. Not like it matters. It's still a nice trade. But, it's why I always make sure that, sizing's on the top of my mind because I do want to hold things for longer. And, you don't know how long and how far a name like that can keep going. One of the things to remember is when the market sucks this bad and you got a name pushing out like that, you know, that's a telltale sign, that this thing could very well keep going way higher. And again, I have no idea. I don't know, but it was a pretty nice flag yesterday. It was pretty textbook, especially on the daily. I mean, that's perfect. I made a nice move, pulled back, found support on the rising 20 once, right there, and then found support on the rising 20 again, just surfing higher lows. I mean, it's textbook. It's exactly what you would have wanted to see. And you'd have, gotten longer when it started to break out that range, 1240, 1250, 1260 even. And you could have bought a couple of small pieces, a little at 1240, a little at 1250, a little at 1260 as it was working for you. Buy it on the way up. Bring up your average into something that's winning, and then sit patiently. To hopefully catch a massive win. The move yesterday was huge. Too. So like if I did buy it like at 12, call it even 1260, and you get well, it's only a 10% move. But if I get a 10% move in a day, I'm always going to trim 10 or 15% of like the initial position. If I did have 10,000 shares, I would have trimmed, 2,000 or something, and then move my stop up to break even. There should be no reason that a trade like that ever goes red on you, ever. You catch a breakout like that, you absolutely must protect. That should never be a red trade. That's sacrilegious. Yeah, it was if ABOS is gapping, I mean this there's no setup here. This isn't a setup. This was already in a downtrend. If you get these EP gap ups, you'd rather do it in an uptrend. Not to mention our market still sucks ass. Not to mention that they didn't have good Alzheimer's news. Biogen had good Alzheimer's news, right? BIIB. So, take that for what it's worth. Looking at it, I mean, again, I don't want to talk shit about ABOS, but if this were a good stock, it would be above moving averages. It would have been, like Lilly. Just zoom out and you're just like, oh wow, this thing's in a fucking forever uptrend, right? And then look at how wide and loose the moving averages are up here. There's really not a whole lot to do until it pulls back, starts to find maybe some support on the rising 50, and then you look for a tight entry. But things are wide and loose, and then look at it yesterday. Look at how absolutely tight everything is. That's perfect. It's perfect, and ABOS does not fit that bill, and there's 13,000 stocks for you to trade. So to trade that one, is not really what you need to be doing. Yeah, I did. I mentioned it in stream. I bought Lilly. Guys. Yeah. I sure you guys noticed it. It was on my main screens, on my main charts the entire time. And over yesterday's high, I'm sure a lot of you guys who've been in my room for the last 2 weeks, you guys know exactly how and where I like to buy things. And over previous day's high is exactly where I like to buy something, and that's exactly what I did. I bought Lilly over Monday's high, and my stop was at low of day yesterday, which my stop's not at low of day anymore. My stop is going to be the 20 on the daily. This thing's going to open up basically near 52-week highs, and this 10, 20, 50 will all be right back in an uptrend. So my stop's probably going to be somewhere around 220 or 225 or something like that. I don't know where the 20 will be, but it closed below the 20 on the daily, and I'll be out. And I already sold half my position yesterday. 228 and between 228 and 231, I got my half position off. It was pretty illiquid in after hours during that run up, so it was kind of hard to get out of half my position. I had to sell it like in little 100 shares, 50 shares, 100 shares, 100 shares, like a bunch of times. But it was cool. It worked out really well. Yeah, Sava as well. My buddy had a 41 average, 41.50 from a few days ago down here. And, he messages me. He's like, Sava. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm an LLY. And then I told him yesterday when this thing was like right about to close, it was like 657. And I said, dude, sell half your position and, sleep better tonight. And sure enough, it's down. I think he had like 40 shares. Nothing crazy, but he was up like, $500 on it, which is awesome. And he locked up half the gains, and now he's just going to be, trailing the rest on the probably some hourly moving average, I'm assuming. Because the daily really didn't have a great setup. So you got to zoom in a little bit and use a smaller time frame. Do I like Posh? No. No. Not even a little bit. Yeah, it's a nice flag. Maybe over 1450. But, you know, you don't have to catch this bottom. All right? You don't have to be in here. You could buy it up at 20, 25. You know, don't think that you'd be missing out on some money or something, okay? Look at DAC. I bring this one up all the time. Okay? You don't have to try and buy DAC at 5, right? You could have bought it when it was back over the 200 at $6, or when it got even better up at $15. Okay? And you didn't have to own it at 5. You could own it 200% higher at 15, and you still watched your investment go, you know, I don't know, from there 600%. You know, or if you had some sell rules, you know, when it closes below the 50, you would have gotten out at a 350% gainer. So, you know, don't try to be early to Posh. Can I explain why I took the Lilly trade? Yeah, it's in a forever fucking uptrend. And so when I see stuff like that, I want to be in names that are going up. Especially, guys, every other name in the market is basically doing what? It's been going down. So the reason Lilly goes up is because their earnings are awesome, their sales are awesome, their drug pipeline's awesome. Institutions are buying the shit out of them. So leading up to yesterday, you know, we had a pretty tight day. So either we're going to break below 304 and we're going to go into this little downtrend, or we're going to break over 312 and, you know, all the moving averages will be trending up. And so yesterday, you know, as I'm buying this thing over the previous day's high, the 10, the 20, the 50 on the hourly are going up, and not to mention now the daily would be doing the same. So I bought a little piece up over 312, and my stop was 308. And that was it. You know, and that was it. I buy over the previous day's high when things are pretty tight. You know, and if you look at the moving averages, like I just mentioned, when this thing's in this big uptrend, look at the 10 compared to the 200, or look at the 10 compared to the 50 or the 100. They're wide and loose, right? There's a 20% gap between the 100 and the 10, right? Or the 200 and the current price, right? Like a 40% between the 200 and current price. But then you look at it all the way up here. It's so much tighter. You know, price is only 7% away from the 200-day moving average in a stock that's already been in a big uptrend. So does this stock continue to just do what it's done historically, or does it roll over and shit the bed? That's what you have to ask yourself, right? And I'm betting that this stock just keeps going higher because it's a great company, right? Not to mention they've got the number 1 diabetes drug on the market, I believe, and pretty soon it's going to be the, the obesity drug in the market. Like one of the top obesity drugs in the market. Plus there was Alzheimer's news. You know, like I didn't know that news was coming, but I say it all the time, like news tends to follow the trend. You know why the Apple news came out yesterday that wasn't so good? Well, because they're downtrend. They were already downtrending. So Apple posts and says something that their iPhone sales aren't so great. Are you surprised? Not really. They're in a downtrend. Yeah, VRTX is on watch. It's another one, right? Look at how tight the moving averages are. Right, it's kind of got to build a little bit better of a supply line. You know, I'm not really seeing any tight days just yet, but you know, we'll see. You know, maybe over $290, this thing will get a little bit more interesting. But for now, you know, I own Lilly, so yeah. TNK is a little frustrating, man. I was gonna buy this one too. It was just too thin for me. I was gonna buy it like at 25 right out of this little tight red day. But I just passed like a total clown. Yeah, CALX, great find. It's also on watch of mine, but again, I don't see a really tight setup just yet. You know, nice move up. It's flagging, but where's your clean supply area? You know, it's looking like maybe over these little 2 wicks, over 62.5. So if it can tighten up just underneath that area, CALX is on my watch list. Yeah, 9-week base. Yeah, it's great. Again, it's holding up this well despite how shit the market is. I mean, you know, now you just got to look for a safe and tight entry because clearly it's being held up, and it's definitely not by me, you know, or by anybody else who's on a Twitter or Discord. It's being held up by institutions. Yeah, SGML is another one on watch, lithium name, but just needs time. Needs to build out, you know, the right-hand side of this chart. There's no symmetry yet. You need some symmetry. Yeah, thank you, Seth. Yeah, it was actually a pretty big trade the way it worked out so fast. So it was great. Honestly, I usually don't catch trades like that quickly in a day, but I'll take it. And I did. I sold half yesterday between 328 and 331. The last thing I wanted was for these things to just gap back down and give back those gains. Yeah, guys, I've got all these names on watch. Suave, but what's here? There's nothing here. Where would you buy this thing right now? I see no clean supply area. I see no right hand side of the base. The latest bit of trend is down below the 10-20 and the 50. I mean, there's nothing here. You need to see it set up. Wolf's looking a little bit better. Wolf, at least for now, could possibly be putting in some double bottom on its new fresh base. And it's at least above the 50. And it's basically above the 20 on the daily as well, depending on how it looks today. But there's nothing here just yet. You need to wait for what's a clean supply area, something tight. Something tight. That's how we're going to always limit our risk, because it's what we have to do. You have to limit risk. TMCI is cool. A liquid. You guys are looking at the most liquid names in this room, man, I swear. But yeah, it just needs longer. It needs to build out a little bit longer, but it's cool. Clearly in an uptrend, right? Found its low in May, and the market's been struggling, and this thing hasn't even gotten close to revisiting its lows. I mean, that's exactly what you want to see. Thanks, Seth. Appreciate that, brother. I just hope it helps you guys, honestly. I don't feel like I mean, I don't need to stream. I just do it because, I enjoy it. And I enjoy teaching, and it takes a little bit of the boredom out of my trading day, because this shit can be boring. Good trading is boring, guys. Super, super boring. I was watching Oxy yesterday too, and I just couldn't pull the trigger. I had this little alert set too, and I just never obviously pulled the trigger because it never broke out. And then I saw this thing wash out like midday, and I was like thinking to myself, like, undercut rally from the lows. And I was looking at it just like sub 58, and I never pulled the trigger, for a little undercut rally setup as it was like pushing back through. Kind of feeling like a slight jackass right now. I've been wanting to be in this name again. Like these breakouts, that they don't really work in this market. So like figuring out alternate ways to get into stocks is like crucial. And I was thinking to myself, like, this little undercut and then rally back up, through the lows of the day here was going to be a decent one. And then of course you had this nice little volume surge, right here on the candlestick. You see it. And so that would have been a great entry with your stop at low, risking about, 30 cents, and you'd be looking pretty good this morning. Not that it matters, honestly. Lily gave me a blessing a lot yesterday. Yeah, nothing yet. ACLX looks fine, but nothing yet. Young IPO, so that's nice. But it's too cheap and too thin for me. Nothing I can do. So, guys, if these things aren't trading, if it's going to trade less than 400,000 shares a day, it should be a $80 plus stock. All right? It's too illiquid. I'm just going to AbbVie, this is another one that's got my attention. Is this thing a piece of shit, or is this a forever uptrender? Well, it could be a long-term uptrender. And if things are starting to tighten up, so either this thing's going to break down or start to make its move back up. And, the way this market's been acting towards these healthcare and biotech names, I'd probably say, it starts to push back up. When? I have no idea. If the market really tanks, a lot of these names will go lower. But, AbbVie doesn't look bad. It's another one of those. It's slow, but Lilly proved to me yesterday they can pay plenty. They can pay plenty. Good luck, guys. Market's about to open. Top of the morning. Nice sells on Sava, man. Yeah, great job telling you to sell half. Oh, nice. Sava back up for you. Nice. Still good sells last night, though, dude. Way less stress, I'm sure. On Sava. Yeah, you should. It wasn't a textbook perfect setup, dude. So, making sure you get paid. And it's a shit market. Yeah, exactly. Making sure you get paid when you catch a move like that is important. His Twitter shit's getting its act together, man. Interesting name. I know, dude. Twitter's actually starting to look good. But the problem is I want to avoid that name because if the I don't know if I don't know what happens in either scenario if that deal goes through or not. So it's almost just easier to avoid altogether. Oh, gold pushing higher today too. Interesting. Interesting seeing gold right now. How's TLT? Oh, TLT's pushing higher. Nice gap up and pushing higher. Hopefully this thing doesn't start to roll over, man. You what? Oh, is it going up today? Oh, because Will Mead was tweeting about it, like as some heavily shorted stock or something. He was also tweeting about how he thought Weber was a good hurricane play. Are you fucking kidding me? That did. Yeah. Yeah, Will Mead, who's supposedly some bright guy, says, yeah, Weber looks like a good trade because of the hurricane. It doesn't even make any sense. Yeah, dude, yeah, because your charcoal grill's going to fire up in a mist of a hurricane. Guy's a clown, dude. He's always playing the most beat up shit names out in the market anyway. I mean, honestly, he might as well be a pumper. Oh yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, yeah. You just cook in the living room with your charcoal grill. That makes sense. No, it's logical. It's logical. Yeah, I've never heard anything that made more sense in my whole life. Thank you. Yeah, this apple below 148 and a half is not good, honestly. Not what I want to see, but really, there's not a lot we can do. Now, if this dollar will just start to come down, that would be sweet. And if TLT keeps this up, that'd be even better. But Apple looks super bad. Holy shit. And this is gonna weigh down everything, you know. If this thing goes to its June lows, hmm, you know, might be time to get a vacation or go on vacation. Did I blow up or have a rough start when I started trading? Uh, yeah, I had to sell my motorcycle and my Rolex to keep my account funded to stay over 25K when I first started. But after about 4 months, I became profitable, and then about 3 months actually, dug myself out of the $20,000 hole I was in, and then my first I started June 1st of 2020, and that first year, I did like 90 grand, and then 2021 things got absolutely bonkers. You know, AMC, GME, TCAT, DLPN, costs. I mean, I was going absolutely wild on sympathy plays. So yeah, oh, yeah. This apple's falling from the tree, as they'd say. We'll see if these things hold their pre-market lows. 145.60. If it does, that would be, well, about the best sign. I don't know where the hell else this thing would go. 143. You know, if this thing starts to, like I said, if this thing starts to get down to 130 29s again, it's gonna be pretty ugly in the market. That's for sure. No chance the SPY survives. You know, we'd get some form of capitulation, I'm sure, at that point. Some bottom. Well, I was like learning from, you know, Cam the Man was one of my mentors. You know, Nate from Investors Underground was one of my day trading mentors. Learned a bunch from Mad As, but it wasn't so much those guys because I learned a bunch of like bad like tactics. You know, averaging down, buying dips, and adding down into those dips, and you know, just shit that you I don't do now really. And you know, again, everybody's a product of 2020. I just happened to take crazy advantage of it because you know I had no fear of losing. I mean, I was just at rock bottom basically in my life. So, taking big risk wasn't really it was something I was kind of used to. Yeah, and again, I was compounding like absolutely crazy. I was day trading, but with massive size every single day, and the market was allowing it, and everything was going higher. So, you know, when GME was going higher, I was just slapping the hell out of costs. And, there was times I remember like I was buying like 30,000 shares of costs, and then I would get like these $1, $2 moves in like 4 minutes. You'd be making 30, 40, 50 grand in a few minutes and just exiting your position. And then GME would pull back, costs would do the same. And then as GME started to turn back up, you would just slap the thing again, do it over and over and over. Hey, how are you? 06. Yep. Yeah, I was studying up on Kulamagi way before I was a swing trader. Kulamagi was I was just impressed by what he was doing. I mean, I remember he took $1.5 million loss on Kodak because he like fat fingered the trade, so he like shorted twice as much as he actually wanted to short, and then yeah, he shorted twice as much as he initially wanted to short, and he took like a $1.5 million loss. And then I like read an article, and he was just like, "Guys, don't worry about me. I'm still up several million on the month." And I was just like, "What?" And that's when I was like, okay, wait a second. Like, my mentor, I've seen him do, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 days. And like, I thought that was crazy. And then, to hear Kulamagi being able to do, you know, a couple million in a month, like that just started to open my eyes. Like, wait, what's this guy doing? And not like that the money was important. It was just like the process, right? Like how you go about finding these names. How do you size into them? Because you don't just do $1 million trades. Like that's just not how it works. You have to have a firm understanding for what the hell's going on. How do you enter? How do you sit in something, etc. And yeah, I was studying him because he's one of the goats. He's one of the best I've ever come across. And even though I wasn't able to trade like him because of my impatience and my position sizing, it was like hard to make that transition going from 20,000, 30,000 shares on these like $30 names to being like, okay, 10% of your portfolio, so like really sizing in properly to something, it's different. Yeah, Lily looks fine. Lily looks great. I probably won't be stopping out of this name for a long time on the other half of that position, probably. I mean, my stop on it right now is basically back at my average according to this 20. So, yeah, exactly. Focus on the process. Yep. Forget about the money. The money will come if you focus on what you're supposed to. As you scale, as your portfolio gets bigger and as you scale up, the wins get bigger. But trying to do something that's like out of the wheelhouse, you know, that that's what's going to lead to big losses. Like just size properly into your positions, and let time be the thing that pays you, not position sizing. Eventually, you get big position sizing, but it's not big relative to your portfolio. It just is what it is. If you trade with $20 million, you're taking $1 million or $2 million positions. You know what I'm saying? Like the wins just get bigger as you scale. They shouldn't get bigger, you know, before your portfolio is ready for it. You shouldn't take unnecessary risk. But losing 1% is 1%. Whether you lose 1% of 100,000 or 1% of 20 million, that's 1%. But I think too many people get enamored with wanting to make big money, and again, that all comes with time. It really does. Making money, big money, like seven-figure trades, comes with time. That shit doesn't come overnight, And then eventually they're eight-figure trades. I don't know anybody that's really done more than eight figures personally, but I know guys who've made 15 million in a day. I know it sounds crazy to some of you, but that's why you swing. Apple undercut its pre-market lows. Now, if Apple will just rally too, that would be fucking noise. EMPH might be finding support on the rising 50. This thing could tighten all the way back up and start to perk back. That, EMPH could be good in like, I don't know, next week maybe. Next week or the week after. Run, kind of breaking down. Vet had a big day yesterday too. You can't ever worry too much about something undercutting the 200. You just got to see how it reacts after it does it. And Vet did it all the way down at $5 and then went all the way to 30. And here it's found support on the rising 100, and you would now think it's undercutting it, but really it's just higher low. So it really depends when you entered the trade. If you entered the trade way down here and you were prepared for it, and then you were using after it pushed up really high and you maybe sold a piece, you could potentially be using the 200. And even though it closed below yesterday, it's still a higher low. It didn't really break, this nice little base down here. It didn't really break this base. These are all essentially a lows. And even though it came down here and broke below the 200, it's still well within that. And again, it all depends on your patience. I wouldn't want to hold something 50% down, so you got to have some rules. But some people have longer time horizons, and some people got way better entries, and you don't really know where someone's entry's at. And that's what should determine your patience. Fucking Oxy. Been wanting to own this thing too. I had a feeling I should have bought this undercut rally setup yesterday. I just couldn't do it. Oxy was sitting just underneath the 100, but again, just if looking at this area here, there's been really nice support in that area. Really nice, down in the 58s. And it was just hanging out there yesterday, trying to do everything in its power to shake people out. But I'll just wait for it to set up if it ever sets up again. Veru. Holy PRTA. Holy, these guys went up too with, I'm assuming that $65 price target. Phase 3, Alzheimer's. Something about meeting their endpoint. Wow. Holy shit. What the fuck is this? CCRN was on my watch too. Yeah. I'm looking at CCRN over 30 basically. 30, 50. I would just like to see it tighten up right under that supply level. Or, it maybe if it tightens up here, this could be like a little, what Mark Minervini would call is like a little cheat setup. Right? So like you'd be basically buying right over that pivot. Now, if it can give us 3 tight days in a row, that would be good for tomorrow. But again, what's the market look like tomorrow? Right? I want to be buying things as the market's turning up, not down. But yeah, CCRN, nice find. was one I've had on watch for a little bit. I've already had my alerts set up here. You're finding the right things, my friend. My Lily's looking good. What's up?
Transactions that you made, they look legit. So, holistic grooming
Oh yeah, that was for my dog from the groomers yesterday.
and then Larson Enterprises for 139.
And then Larson Enterprises. I honestly don't remember that, but it's more than likely me, man. Like 99%. What does it say again? For 139. I honestly don't remember, but I do just spend on that card or whoever that vendor was. Okay, yeah, I know for sure. I mean, 1,000% right off the top of my mind. I mean, my dog. I just picked my dog up. You know, I took him to the groomers yesterday. I don't even know if there's an address there for the holistic groomers, but it's like obviously in Chicago on Halsted Street. So yeah, Halsted Road. Yeah, my groomer's kind of right where I live. So I don't really know the Larson, but it's like I'm saying, it's almost 99% positive that would something like that would be me. I just can't think off the top of my head. I hardly slept last night, man. Dude, I'm in I trade in the market, brother. So you know, last night you know, I don't know if you follow the market any, but you know, kind of global currencies are going down.
DTGI.
So I hardly even sleep last night watching the futures market, and then this morning I was up at like 5:30 in the morning. I went to sleep at like 2 a.m. All right.
Beat.
You know, this TTD too. This thing is you know, bottomed in May, built a little base down here, got right back up above moving averages. You know, the market's been struggling, and this thing's, you know, kind of digesting this move pretty well. So if it can just build out a little bit more, you know, TTD might be one of those for later. You know, we'll see. But TTD doesn't look too bad down the road.
ALZN.
BTU had tons of strength yesterday. Was one that I mentioned on Twitter as well. I think I might have even mentioned it in here, but maybe a few more days for this BTU. If it could push out really nicely today and then pull back, you know, this next
ALZN.
couple of days and then give us a tight day, you know, I'll be looking for a setup that looks, you know, and again, look at how many times it's finding support on the rising 200, getting right back up above all its moving averages, and then if it could just tighten up some, we might be onto something with BTU. It's why these oil, energy, gas, you know,
GHHS.
coal, whatever, all these names are on my radar.
AMIH.
TCO, I'm not looking too bad.
AMIH. AMIH.
Calm, new highs,
AMIH.
man, fucking monster. PBF, another one. Found support on the rising 200 perfectly, literally, exactly how you'd love to see. Support on the rising 200 right away, and who knows? We might get a setup on these in a few days. Would be nice to see it fail this little supply area that I already had, 34 and a half. I already had an alert there, but if this thing could just tighten up a couple days right underneath that, oh boy, could be a nice one for some continuance. Who knows? Or it could just be, lower high, lower high, lower high. We don't know. Lily new little 52-week press here. Nice chart, man. MicroStrategy. I'm still surprised at these Bitcoin names, despite how shitty the market's been. And like I said, I talk crap about Bitcoin, but it's done a pretty nice job holding its this $18,000 level, even with the market, going lower last night. That kind of surprised me. Not gonna lie. Hey, brother, lost you there, man. Sorry. Um, yeah, I'm gonna avoid CCRN. I need perfect setups, guys. Perfect, in my eyes at least. Or this isn't terrible. Finding support on the rising 20, breaking out over these little two tops. If the market feels like, hey, market's gonna bounce, and that's like your gut feeling, size properly. Take a tiny little piece, like 3 to 5 to 10% portfolio position, knowing, hey, I've got 70 cents of risk right now. So like, again, you have a 100K account and you're trying to get, $10,000 at work. It means you're buying, call it 400 shares ish here. So you got to know, like, hey, 400 shares. If I'm wrong, 70 cents a share. Like, what's that really going to cost me if I'm wrong? And then be cool with that. And then if it sets up even better and you get a little piece here and then it works and in a few days it tightens up again and starts to break 30, 50, you can add into that. Give yourself now a full position with a lower cost basis than where the price is currently at. And you're not going to be seeing red. So you're either going to see super small red for a losing trade, or it's going to then eventually break out over 30, 50, and you're going to bring up your average, and you're not going to be looking at red because your average right now would be like, 28, 25 or something, right? And you're willing to eat the little loss right now, but you're willing to make your position bigger if indeed it does work for you, and indeed wants to go higher. But we don't really know. So that's why I always advise caution in this environment. But yeah, they do have insane numbers. And remember, one of the very first things I talked about, that the reason a stock even looks the way it does and goes where it goes is because of institutions. And why would institutions want to buy something? Well, because their fundamentals are rock solid, you know, like rock solid. So, you know, take that for what it's worth and use that to your advantage.
Hey Ariel,
Blaine, what's up?
looks like we're bouncing some, huh?
Yeah, we are, which is nice. I mean, it's about time. It only took the Bank of England basically going from tightening to easing overnight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, something in the financial system had to break, and it was basically the treasury market. And you want to keep your eyes peeled on TLT. If TLT continues to go lower and our dollar continues to go higher, which is UUP, you know, it, again, I try to not focus on those things. We're only going to focus on setups, but, yeah, it's hopefully this market bounce, sets things back up like BJ or EMPH or, somebody just mentioned CCRN, FSLR. It wouldn't take long, or even CALX. It wouldn't take long. CALX actually starting to look really good. Um, Nothing to do for me here just yet, but it really is starting to look good. But yeah, it could just be a handful more days, weeks, and we could have a bunch of nice setups, and the market could officially be done taking a shit. We don't know. We got a bunch of Fed speakers today too, so really, things can go south quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
This we literally just said it looked like the market might be bouncing, and here it is. It's trading like a small cap.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this going on here with the SPY? Wow, goodness gracious. Brutal price action out there. It's drunk, man. Is it? SPY's all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
I try to not focus on that one too much. I just try to focus on my positions, but yeah, things look super choppy and whippy out there. I'd rather be in a steady uptrend, low volatility environment. That would be ideal.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Really, we got to see Apple firm up. We can't keep seeing Apple roll over. If Apple starts to continue to make new lows, it's going to be. It's not going to look pretty. But again, with no predictions. There's a lot of nice charts setting up out there, like LLY. AMPS made a really nice move yesterday. CALX looking good. CORT pretty soon, maybe. Who knows? CPRX, another one. It's made a big move. It just needs to rebuild out the right side of that base. EMPH, FSLR. Wow. I don't know why I'm watching gold, but gold typically bottoms before our market, so it's why I'm interested just to see the price action in gold. INSW needs some time. Yeah, LNG, these oil gas names, man, they're right back at it. Maybe these lithium names a few more weeks. NBIX maybe a little bit longer. Kind of undercutting its base. Yeah, who knows? There's a lot of constructive looking things out there.
They're
Honestly, there's a lot of constructive looking names. I'm trying not to be such a pessimist about the world. Yeah, so when you get a move like that, so on AMPS, I mentioned it, and nice trade by the way. um, on AMPS, if you catch a move like that, like 10% in a day, trim 20% of your position, man. Trim 20%. You want to be patient in something like that. It's completely bucking market trend. Like complete, it doesn't give a shit what the market's doing. Why? Because that's institutions, man. Look at the big volume yesterday. That's not some Discord. You know, I mean, it could be because it's cheap enough, right? But you get my point, right? It's holding up really well. You need to try your absolute best to sit patiently in something like that as best you can, right? You get a move like that, just trim 20, 30, 40%, shit, even half, right? And then just trail the rest. When it's such a nice daily chart, when it's that nice of a daily chart, and it was, had found support on the rising 20 once, and then support on the rising 20 and put in higher lows, and then built this nice little flag right here, right? As soon as it started to take off over that flag and over the previous day's high, 1240s, 1250s, 1260s, I mean, those are all pretty good entry spots as long as you're sized properly. And so when a stock's doing that, this chart's screaming to you that it could potentially go way higher, you know? So again, that kind of thing will come with time. You'll get better at executing, you know, just selling a smaller piece and then sitting more patiently. But you did great. You recognized a good setup. You probably got a pretty solid entry, and then, man, this Oxy, dude. I swore I should have bought this little undercut rally. That's like the only real way to get situated in this market, man, which is fine. I don't mind doing it. It's not necessarily my favorite way of getting into a chart. It's like buying kind of a weak setup, but, I mean, if me and Warren Buffett got to keep Oxy up, then that's what we're going to do. Kidding. Hey, girl. Why are you squeaking that toy? You need a bone. Keep you entertained. Yeah. Yep. Well, of course, you probably have a lot of scars from breakouts reversing. You've been trading in a bear market for the last year. Guys, this environment's been really tough. Really, really tough. And obviously, if you've been in the stream now long enough, to know, you've been here long enough to know, that breakouts are tough in this environment. And yeah, uranium names are looking great, honestly. They're looking really nice. So CCJ is my number one watch in the entire market because I have a uranium bull thesis. And again, I don't like to fight price action, and I won't. I'm not just going to be stubborn, but I will continue to trying to get situated in CCJ as often as I can. I think CCJ can go to 40, so I want to be part of that. This upper trend line, essentially, I think it can, and then you got this lower trend line, just kind of like this megaphone effect. And yeah, I think CCJ can go to 40 plus, That's just my own opinion, but when it gets to that upper trend line, that would kind of be my cue to exit. But I have a big thesis on uranium. We can't go electric world without it. So, everybody can get those silly little thoughts out of their head. This world's not going electric nothing without uranium and lots of it, nuclear power. And the longer we delay, you know, the slower it takes for us to get to that transition. You can't have lithium batteries going up, and you can't have electric vehicles going up if we think we're just going to burn coal for the rest of our eternity. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. At least not to me. And yeah, uranium names are probably the choppiest sector in the entire market. So you got to be willing to hold pullbacks, and you got to let your thesis work. That's really the only you got to get yourself a good entry, and more than likely in these uranium names, buying the undercut rally setups is probably going to be the best bet. Trying to buy breakouts in uranium is probably not going to work too well, especially in this market too. Not only is it choppy as shit, but the trend is pretty much set. The trend has been set since pretty much the end of 2020. Look at the 200. Very seldomly does it spend any time below the 200, and even recently, pulled back to the 200 and didn't break down even further. Actually bounced right back up. So there's demand for this stock, and the reason that I like CCJ so much is because it's the only name expensive and liquid enough for institutions to play and get any kind of exposure to the uranium space. So, they're not going to be out there buying DNN and CCJ or UEC and UU. They're too cheap. They're too cheap, and they don't trade enough volume. So institutions that got billions and billions and billions of dollars, they're only going to play like URNM because it's an ETF, and URA, and then CCJ, and then Kazatomprom, but I don't even know that they trade in our market. I don't believe they do. So yeah, choppy as shit, but that doesn't mean you can't have a thesis and then figure out a way to get yourself situated in a low risk entry. You got to study what low risk entries could look like: undercut rallies, dip buy setups, or breakouts, right? For me, those are the only real types of setups that I'm willing to take. Only 3 types of way I usually enter a stock, and they're all unique and they're all different. But that's how I limit my risk upon entry, because everything else doesn't matter, dude. I just care about not getting my ass kicked when I take an entry, and that's it. And I want to do these things in a healthy market, and we're not in one. But that still doesn't mean that uranium can't go higher. Again, you got countries like Germany restarting their nuclear reactors. You got countries like Japan getting their shit together. Countries like India saying they're building new reactors. China's building I don't know what it is, it's 10 reactors a year or something crazy. The small modular reactors are going to be coming online probably within the next couple years. If all those things are true, there's going to be big demand for uranium and U3O8. What's to come for that space, I don't know, but I know that there's going to be much more demand on the market than there is supply, because there's already a supply deficit for uranium. And I just know these things because I'm interested in the space. Man, my lily looks freaking awesome, dude. But yeah, there's absolutely new demand coming into this space, and as sooner rather than later, countries will pivot. Like, sometimes I laugh, when I think about the people in California who are like, oh, I'm all about the environment, I'm a tree hugger, and I love EVs. Oh, but we're going to charge all our EVs burning coal? Like, okay, dude, it's like, they're clowns if that's what you actually believe. Like, anybody who is in California and tells you how much they love planet Earth and how much they love EVs and how much they tree hug, but then they're going to charge their EVs burning coal, I mean, you've never heard of something so fucking stupid in your whole life. So there's only one real way. And if those people from California aren't screaming nuclear at the top of their lungs, it's because they're uneducated. You can't burn coal for the eternity and double our power grid burning coal to charge the 35 million EVs that California plans on having, you know. But again, that's my opinion, and opinions don't pay. What pays is price. So I try to keep my opinion out the market, but again, that has my thesis, and that allows me to be even more patient because I understand my investment thesis, right? I understand, hey, you got a good average, the thing's working for you, sit down, shut up, be patient, let the thing work, right? And eventually, other investors catch on to your thesis as well, but sometimes they won't catch on to it until the thing's going vertical, right? It's like, not until the thing's going vertical that everybody goes, oh, nuclear's the future, after this thing's already been running for 2 straight months going vertical, then everybody wants to hop on board. And, at that point, I'm selling some of my shares, just the way the way of the world. News usually follows trend. Some of you've probably seen me tweet that a handful of times now. Lilly was trending up, and then there's positive Alzheimer's news. Apple's trending down, and then there's negative iPhone sales news. I mean, don't overthink it. Look for something that's in an uptrend, and even when you look at CCJ, the 200 will tell you it's in an uptrend. And very rarely, like I said, does this thing hang out below the 200. When it does, it bounces off this trend line and keeps going higher. So it's just a matter of finding a really, tight, safe entry. That's all we can do. I can't force CCJ higher. My opinions do not matter. You can have a thesis all you want, but it won't be me buying hundreds of millions of dollars worth of CCJ. It'll have to be somebody else, institutions. But all I can try to do is have a thesis, have a tactic for safe risk reward and an entry, and then sit patiently and let the thing work. Because everything else is out of our control. RXDX, nice push.
NUMD.
Yeah, TerraPower. Aren't they like SMR? Isn't that, what's their ticker symbol? Oh no, it's NewScale. What's their ticker symbol? Anybody know? What's TerraPower's? I don't know. Bill Gates understands too. Bill Gates knows. Bill Gates knows, it's the way of the future. You can't have industrial economy, burning coal and wood pellets and natural gas. I mean, or methane gas. I mean, that's just not viable. It's not a long-term solution. Especially if you're a tree hugger. And then if you're a tree hugger and then you say nuclear is bad for the planet, slap yourself. But again, I'm not here to argue with price. Only institutions can take the thing higher. If they don't want to take it higher, then I'm going to get the fuck out. Pretty simple. Oh, private company? Yeah. And they'll probably do great, honestly. Yeah, Diablo Canyon. I'm familiar with their only nuclear power plant that they were about to shut down. And guess why they didn't shut down? Because shutting down when you've got power grid issues and you get rolling blackouts in California, yeah, what? You can't shut down. You can't even consider it. Same thing with Palisades. In Michigan. Guess what? That one was scheduled to shut down. Guess what? It's not shutting down anymore. France is reopening some nuclear reactors. Germany's keeping nuclear reactors open. I mean, the writing's on the wall. Japan said they're going to start accelerating their, nuclear reactors opening up. And By the way, if Japan starts to do it, they're the last one with a global uranium or nuclear crisis, right? They had Fukushima. So it's like if they begin to pivot, imagine what the rest of the world will say. And by the way, France doesn't give a shit about what happened in Japan. France 70% of their power is nuclear, so they're already up to date and hip on what's green. So they're a net exporter of energy. So they're smart, right? They're honestly smart. Again, like I said, you can't be some tree hugger, and then say nuclear. Oh, radiation's bad. No, it's not. It's like they're just uneducated, and there's been bad propaganda, against nuclear. And I get it. Some people think nuclear, and then they think weapons of mass destruction, and they're not the same. But again, there's just a lot of misinformation out there, and that's okay. I'm not here to argue with misinformation. I'm here to trade price action and make money, and that's all you can really do. Yeah, imagine that. They want you to go EV, but then they tell you to stop charging. I know it's fucking laughable. California says, oh, guys, consider not charging your vehicles, or consider cutting the lights, or not using less electricity. How about you guys just consider throwing up a couple more nuclear power plants? I mean, Illinois has got 11, I believe. I think we've got 11 nuclear power plants in Illinois. I should probably double check my words, but let's see. Yeah, 11. Yeah, 11 operating commercial nuclear power reactors at 6 sites, generating about 50% of Illinois state electricity. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're not total dumbasses here. As much as I think our government's a bunch of clowns. No offense to the people in New York and California, but I mean, even in Illinois too. A bunch of dumbasses, honestly. No offense. I'm from Illinois too. Bunch of dumbasses out here. We do things ass backwards in Illinois for sure. Sad reality. California, ass backwards, man. We love EVs, but we need to burn more coal to charge them. God, I make myself laugh sometimes. The stupidity makes, people's stupidity. I laugh at people's stupidity. And that's exactly what that sounds like to me. But again, what the hell do I know? All I know is what a tight setup looks like in a healthy market. That's all I care about. I know, dude. I know, Benny. I know you're from Cali, and it's a bunch of clowns out there, minus you and your family. Everybody else, total dipshits. Well, is it oversold rally time? At least to the declining 50 would be nice, huh? Nice little 8% move over the next week or so. That would help a lot of names set up, right? Now, what the market does after that, I don't know, but if names like BV start to push out, or AMPS starts to, really AMPS isn't a focus, but like EMPH, FSLR, LNG, Oxy, like I'm looking for more setups. But right now they're not really many. So we just got to be patient. Fucking Twitter. What the hell's Twitter up to? I know somebody just mentioned in this room that somebody was one of the Fed chairs or something was speaking.
EPCB.
Anybody know what the news was or what they said? I'm not really paying attention to it. Roblox, huh? Something like Roblox too, silly as it sounds, right? It's like it made its low in May, and even though the market just made a fresh new low today, Roblox has refused to go lower. It's like things like that you guys have to pay attention to, because this name could set up in a few weeks, maybe a month, and you might have something here, right? Like all these growth names may have officially bottomed for real. Because, again, the market's struggling. And what do you think the likelihood of Roblox going to see new lows at 22 is? Fairly unlikely, right? Fairly unlikely. Oh, Lily. That's what I'm talking about. Names like Lily and Biogen, they're going to help the market hold up pretty well, in my opinion.
HENC.
Netflix, another one of those, right? Refuses to die. And again, this thing, if this thing starts to get up over 250, I might have an interest in this name. It's not very often I will play a setup like this, but this big gap, this thing could easily go and fill that gap. 330.
EMET.
We'll see. I'd like to see something tight as it gets up to 250, but nice little move up. It's essentially gone sideways. It found its low in May. Market's been struggling. This thing hasn't been struggling anymore. It's essentially been making a move up and consolidating. Anything's possible with Netflix, but it'll definitely be on watch. It's getting pretty big volume today, so we'll see.
EMED.
Obviously would need a much healthier market. A lot of names may be finding their bottom. Yeah, TTD, another one too. Man. All these growth names that are bottoming, or working themselves higher, from Roblox to TTD to even PLTR. All these things are gonna, oh my goodness, BTU, holy shit. Holy shit.
DFCO.
Oh, dude, I was just in San Diego a couple weeks ago. So nice. I love it there. It's my second time going out there. I went and stayed on right off Pacific Beach. What is that? Pacific Beach Boulevard or Drive, Mission Beach, whatever it's called, Mission Bay, some shit. Pacific I don't know what the hell it's called. But I always stay at the same spot. Blue Sea Beach Hotel. Holy BTU. Fucking A. This thing had my attention yesterday. Now if this thing will just set up for the next handful of days, would be sweet. Yeah, BTU's setting up in a couple more days. It's probably Kathy Wood buying this DNA turd. Funny. Well, you know, it's actually creating a pretty nice base too. Big base. Still hasn't broken May's lows. And again, this is something that you want to keep in consideration on any name you play. What's the relative strength? You know, markets just made a fresh low, and names that haven't, you know, or made their low way back in May, you know, they deserve some attention going forward. AMR finding potentially some support on the rising 200. It's nice to see. We might have a bunch of setups in a couple weeks, guys. Don't quote me, but I'm getting excited. ASO, another one. Higher lows. You know, now if we can just figure out and have this thing tighten up for us, ASO's another one. All these names will be on my radar later.
ENDV.
VRTX looking much better too. We'll see. Would be nice to see Tesla get over 289. I'd be lovely. Wow, crude's really going today, huh? Up 3.5%. Wow, not a terrible day for crude. Back to 100 do we go or what? Guess we'll know in a few days.
Mohawai. NSDAQ.
Nice, Lily. Just broke over those pre-market highs. This thing is a rocket ship right now. Nice to be in it, that's for sure. And with a super comfortable average. And the market's bouncing. I mean, really couldn't ask for a whole lot more. You know, maybe a few more days for PDD and we might get a low cheat setup. You know, we might not have to wait for 72 to break out. We might be able to get in before the crowd and then add for a 72 breakout as well. Nothing yet, but maybe next week or later this week. Maybe probably next week realistically.
PTAN. PTAM.
Phew. Woo. CLFD, this is another one that should be on my radar. CLFD. It's crazy. I was first looking at this thing down at 66 on 7.7, and then I was going to buy it again on 7.27. I didn't pull the trigger either of those times. Man, even if I bought it at 81, this thing ends up going $50 fucking from that entry. God, I'm such a bum. I didn't pull the trigger on either of those. Definitely going to remain on watch. One of these that you have to keep on watch. Could be a big mover. It's already shown the ability to. Rhythm, and they had a an offering too, and look at them, basically building out a new base, right? Higher low, higher low, higher low. I mean, pretty crystal clear here, right? Trend lines going up, base is being built, and then holding a support on the rising 50. If it could perk back up and go sideways a few days, you might have something. I had rhythm. I told you guys 1209 was my average down here. I got stopped out. I sold some at 16, a little piece right here. A few days later, and then 25, another piece in here, and then stopped out the rest down here. 21. It was like 100% swing trade. It was really nice in like 2 weeks. It was crazy. Feels like there's a lot of money on the sidelines just waiting to come into the market too. Honestly, it's what it feels like.
MASN.
Yeah, I've got CALX on watch, but there's nothing there just yet. It's not coming out of a tight candle, so I don't. There's nothing here just yet for me. I'll pass until it's perfect, and when it's perfect, I'll be ready to execute. No rush. Like Lily yesterday was perfect. That's what I want. I want my merchandise to be perfect, and you can make plenty if you just wait for that. CEIX console energy. This thing doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Really? Oh. How about now? Much better.
OCG, OCG, OCG. PWCO. PWCO.
I don't want to be famous by viewers, followers, and primes on viewers. I don't even know what the hell that means, dude. I don't even know what that means. I don't want to be famous. I just want to make a shitload of money. There's no need to be famous. I could be famous to my friends and my family, and the small group of 40 people in the room. It's famous enough. I'm not here to get popular. I'm here to make life-changing money. That's all I care about. And to help teach some of you guys along the way. Hopefully you guys learned something.
Type.
Well, you could be famous and rich, right? But I don't care about people really knowing who I am. That's not my objective here. Hey man, I'm happy your scanning's gotten better. Honestly, that's such a big component of being a solid trader. It's being prepared for the names you want to be in. That's really all trading is. Being prepared, and scanning really does help. And I'm glad that you've learned something about scanning, because it's really like the most important. You don't have to be the best button clicker. You got to understand a good setup. It didn't matter if I owned Lily at 312 yesterday or 310 yesterday, but as a day trader, that $2 difference makes a huge difference, because you want to get the hell out after a couple bucks, right? But you just understand a good setup, and then it's all of a sudden it's up $30 from your average, or whatever, 25 bucks from your average. That's all you need. You don't got to be a professional button clicker. Learning to scan, learning where you take your safe entry, learning about position sizing, learning about market direction, and being a good listener. And the rest is fucking noise. Don't listen to people. You're doing great if you're learning to scan, honestly, and you're being a good listener to the market. Anything else is just nonsense. And VRTX, huh? I didn't see a perfect setup, but I guess through these little tops was not bad. 288. I just didn't like it. Wasn't clean enough. Maybe had yesterday rejected a little bit lower, that'd have been nice, but nope. I'd rather just pass. Charles Schwab looking better too. I wonder how these names are looking. Hmm. Some look better than others. Rivian, Bezallar. ALB. It would be nice to see ALB set up too, these lithium names. And, ALB could very well be finding support on the Rising 50. Rising 50 right here, support, and then maybe right there. But I guess we'll find out later. I don't really like the setup right now, but these lithium names, SMGL or SGML, and this is actually starting to look better too. Nice and tight. If it could close like this, that would be super sweet. And then maybe tomorrow over those tops. Yeah, if this could put in a tight red day like this, I never get what I want, but something like this I would buy tomorrow. Yeah, all day. I would buy something like that. But not yet. LTHM. I'd like to own this name too. These fundamentals that this company has are great. Netflix not looking bad, man. Not fucking bad. Very very seldomly do I like taking setups that are below the 200. Very very seldomly, but a name like Netflix, you know, I would consider. Absolutely. Oh yeah. Mhm. Yeah, uni. That's right. I forgot. I paid for him. Yeah, he's the one bot in the room that I coughed up good money for. He's out here making solid trades too. Hmm. Yeah, I wanted to have 38 people in the room instead of 37, so I paid Uni extra. Came with a free OnlyFans subscription. I'm still interested in Airbnb. Not yet, but maybe another month or so. We'll see how the market looks in a month. Something like Airbnb. Maybe same thing with Toast. Wonder how that's looking today. Better. Maybe in a month.
NBY.
You know, this could actually be pretty good for Cigna. Finding support on the rising 20. I don't know. Its name's slow though. Broke the base. If this thing tennis balled right back up, that's exactly what you'd want to see. Yeah, so gold generally, historically, should I say, tends to bottom before the general indices. So if history is any guide, that's definitely possible. And then obviously Neem, how's GFI looking? Yeah, GFI's not bad either. Yeah, it's tough to trust anything. It's tough to trust anything right now. It's getting really big volume though. Like to start the day, this is pretty heavy volume coming in today. And we'll see how it looks in a couple days. I'm interested over 250 really. I'd like to see it push up today and tomorrow, and then maybe a little sell off on Friday, and then get nice and tight, go sideways, and the 10 and the 20 and the 50 will all be uptrending. I'll kind of ignore the 200 for now because my first target will be the declining 200. I'll be looking for some sells right around 300 if I bought it at 250. And percent wise, that wouldn't be such a bad push. Almost 20% would be a really nice trade. Would be a really nice trade. But yeah, there's no reason to trust things right now. It's exactly why I sold a piece of my Lily, even with the good news in after hours yesterday. Right? Hindsight, I wish were holding, be up another $10, but I had to sell half. Man, this BTU, what the fuck? Somebody really wants in BTU. That's absolute for sure. Guaranteed. Thermal coal. CEIX, ARLP. Yeah, ARLP looks good too. ARCH. They're thermal coal. They don't look as good. AREC. Oh, they're cheap. Let's see, who else? NC and NRP. Oh, that's a liquid. NRP. That's a liquid. Well, it'd be BTU or CEIX for me. And this thing is just a monster.
Inject.
Yeah, ARLP, CEIX, BTU. You know, BTU, if it could just pull back a couple days in a row and tighten up, it might be a really nice setup. So do you see what it looks like right now, where this thing just pushes back up, back through all moving averages? I would love to see something like this. I would like to see a setup like this, where something finds support. Well, this isn't the best example. Undercuts the 200, pushes up a few days in a row, and then pulls back, and then finds support on the rising moving averages. This is the, let me clear. This is kind of the ideal situation, right? I'd like to see it pull back a few days in a row, get nice and tight, and create a low risk entry. That's the ideal scenario. I have a just under a 212 right now on LLY. So some of my buys started like at 211.90 or just under that, 211.70, and then 211.90, and then 311.90, 311, just in this area right here, literally. Some of my buys came right before it, right before the previous day's high, but it was pretty obvious that this was, chart wanted to go higher. At least that's what it felt like, and I almost got stopped out too. 308 was my stop. And it held. Yeah, 312. Man, crude looks great today. Up almost 4% on the day.
Outflow.
Uranium name still acting really well today. No, I didn't get TCOM. I don't think it's perfect yet. I don't think TCOM is perfect yet. Besides, like, what? It's still in a range. You know, like you see this little rectangle here. That's a range. Let me edit this. You know, I mean that's a range right there. So it's like I don't want to buy it stocks in a range unless I get like a low cheat setup. And so yeah, I'm not buying this. There's no setup here. Besides, it's still within yesterday's high where it pulled back from. It just needs a little time. But again, it's nice. It's a nice range. I just need to see a clean supply area where it's like obvious to everybody that that's supply, and then in a healthy market, it starts to break out, and you're not the only one that realizes that that supply area is breaking, and then we size in properly and we hold on. But not yet, not yet. Same thing with CALX. It's failed this 62 and a half area twice, three times, and so I'm just really waiting for it to get nice and tight right under that area where it's nice and crystal clear and obvious. Had yesterday's candle not happened, where it like wicked all the way back down, that actually, this is a tight candle. This candle right here, this is tight, right? So then it becomes, hey, if it's starting to break up over that, it's back into the range, and the moving averages on the daily are moving up. And then obviously below that, it's breaking back below the range, and then maybe going to find some support on the rising 50. We wouldn't know, right? It would all be hindsight. So yesterday, or 2 days ago, unfortunately happened. Whenever day this was, what was that, on Monday? Had that candle not happened, that would have been a good entry. Or even if you would have bought right back through that level on Tuesday, oftentimes I'll do stuff like that. I remember I traded VTNR just like that, right? So, right, I noticed this really tight candle here, and it kind of, it gapped up over it, but like really on no news, but in the right sector. And I just didn't love the gap up. I didn't even chase it, even though it's not like I was paying that much more for it. And then the very next day, of course, it like gaps lower, but then rips through that level, which is where I'd prefer to buy. I prefer to buy something that's going through a level instead of gapping up over. If it's gapping up over, you know, like Lily or something, where it's just like gapping up all time high. Well, there's, it's institutional interest, or there's big news, something to do with Alzheimer's, etc. If you buy something like that, okay, fine. Or obviously like an EMPH Suave, like big earnings, surprise, beat, and it's coming out of like a really nice clean consolidation and base, fine. But oftentimes I don't like to chase gap ups. I like to buy through the pivot level, like through the previous day's high. It helps really limit my risk, and you don't have to like sit there and worry like, oh, is this stock going to come back and, backfill that gap? And sure enough, it did. And I actually bought it on this day. I know Mitch, you're familiar with Irv, and Irv, he's in Goblin Gangs as well. He's another really solid day trader. But we actually both opened this up for a swing on this day with stop at low of day, and you never ended up seeing red again. So oftentimes, like to lower my risk, I like to buy through the pivot level. It just a little less headache, I feel like. But yeah, TCOM just needs a little bit of time. Potentially this LNG just needs a little bit of time, but possibly finding support on the rising 100. AbbVie, same deal. AbbVie starting to build out a pretty nice range, like pretty clean and obvious over, maybe at 145. But a little bit longer for that one. FSLR is an absolute monster, finding support on the rising 20. This thing has, it's just been ridiculous, honestly. But if this 50 can catch up just one time, here, it's a leading name in the market.
BGTTF.
You know, there's a couple. LTHM, perks back up and goes sideways a few days. LTHM could be really nice. SGML or SMGL, whatever that other lithium name. SGML, this one could be nice too. PDD in a few days. I'm gonna have to see, like, with PDD, I'll have to see a little bit more participation from these China names. Like FXI is not looking good. And that's your Chinese ETF. Neither is KWeb. Lee doesn't look good. XPEV looks horrible. I mean, XPEV looks like they're going out of business. I mean, I don't know what this stock's doing. People could talk about their EVs all they like. This thing is, it's getting absolutely slaughtered. So, somebody wants out of XPEV. How many days do I want it to base after the pop? It's not so much, it's like meeting some day requirement of how long it needs to base. It's more so, is the base symmetrical, right? Do you see volatility contraction, right? Is it clean and obvious that it's surfing the 10 and or the 20 day, right? I want to see those things, and then if you get that kind of a confirmation, like for instance Lilly, right? We could just look back at Lilly and say, okay, well, this thing's clearly in a giant uptrend, right? I mean, I drew this crystal clear downtrend line. I mean, it's pretty clean and obvious. Right? And not that, the setup was perfect, but essentially, you see this little area right here? It's almost obvious there's demand in that area, right? Like, there's demand. So, here, we'll change this. Nice, and save that. You see, there's demand in this area. And so what did the stock do? When it found demand, it pushed right back up. It went sideways for just a handful of days, right? It found support in the demand area, just like you would expect. It went sideways for a handful of days, and then, it got tight. And then even on the smaller time frame, 60-minute, as it started to break through that level, well, all the moving averages are nice and tight, but they're uptrending. And they're not just, you have to then zoom out and then say to yourself, well, is this stock a uptrending stock, or is this just some random fly-by-night stock? It's like, zoom out and you realize, like, wow, this. And by the way, what can go up can continue going higher. Like, what's gone up can continue going higher, like in perpetuity. Think about an Apple. Think about like a company like Monster. Think about a stock like ODFL. Yeah, this stock is struggling right now, but that probably won't last. And then when you look at the monthly chart 20-year, this thing has been on a forever uptrend, minus this 1 year where the stock market's just been mightily struggling. But, now it might just be finding support on the rising 50 on the monthly, and then just go sideways for, 3, 4, 5 months, and then ODFL probably resumes its uptrend. The last time this thing ever found support on the rising 50, was down at $34 or, down at 12, and this thing hardly ever gets down to those levels. But is this a piece of shit stock, or is it a great stock? Well, it's a fucking great stock. It's been going nothing but up for the last 20 years. Now, does that mean that has to stay true? No, not necessarily, but remember, guys, like, the stock has had to have proven to you before that it can make a big move up. So you really want to see symmetry. That's the most important part. You want to see some form of symmetry, and then again, some kind of a tight entry. And then again, as silly as it sounds, like, you want a very obvious spot that, hey, that's a breakout spot. That's a breakout spot. Like, it'll be obvious to you and to everybody else. And when it's obvious to everybody else as well, that's when you get the volume surge going through that pivot. You just got to be ready for it. You have your alert set. You know where you'd like to buy. You know how much of it you can buy because of the size of your portfolio and the kind of position sizing you like taking. And then once you have those little very simple questions answered, and then you get the volume surge through a pivot because it's super obvious, not just to you, to a bunch of other traders as well, and institutions and whoever else might be buying the thing. And then you're doing it in a healthy market when the market's pressing higher. Then your likelihood of success is way higher. And then again, when stocks buck the trend, when the market's going down and stocks are still holding up, that should be screaming, hey, 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 when the market's done taking a crap, I'll go higher. But you're still looking for a clean entry. You're not just going to randomly do something. Yeah, linearity. You want something to be nice and linear. Oh,
Mohawai. BMNT.
heck yeah. Great job, dude. If you're making a bunch of money, that's exactly what we're here for. We're here to make a bunch of money. Why we're in the stock market, right? I want to make a lot of money and do less. Both sound great.
Wallace.
It gives me a little bit of relief to see TLT going up. How long that lasts, I have no idea. But boy, this treasury market's been absolutely slaughtered. You know, and our whole, you know, our whole economy's is it's interest rate based. And seeing treasuries, usually when the stock market falters, treasuries stay flat or even go up. And to see treasuries underperform the stock market, it's a super anomaly, which just it's why I've been advising caution. Because something's clearly broken in the system. This is a super anomaly where the treasury market does worse than the stock market. It's the first time in 60 years that this has ever happened. So something feels broken, something could easily break, and the last thing any of us need ever is to get caught in some panic washout super gap down where you've got a bunch of positions open in an environment like this, and then you get absolutely destroyed for a limit down day in the market or something, and then all your positions open up down 10% or something. I mean, that would be tragic. So being cautious in this market is important. Lily, just go to 400. Yeah, AMP's continuation. You're not totally surprised though, are you? I mean, it was doing this when the market was taking a shit, and then now the market's bouncing higher. I mean, you got to imagine AMPS was going to keep going. Um, you mentioned about price volume correlation, i.e., $60 300K. Yeah, so it's my rule for me, right? Like, I've got to trade names that are a little bit more liquid because I'm taking a little bit bigger position. You have to take your portfolio size and multiply it by like 10, and that's really what you need. So if you're trading with $1 million, you should not be trading names that are trading under $10 million a day, right? Because if you had $1 million, I'd be looking to get $100,000 at work in a name. Well, if I'm trying to buy $100,000 worth of a stock, but it's only trading $10 million a day, I don't want to buy 1% of all the activity in the day. Plus, if I want to get out, it's like I'm now buying and selling 2% of all the activity in a stock a day. Like, that's not my goal. I don't want to have that much effect on a stock. Just the opposite. God almighty. It's Lily's making me regret having sold a damn thing. No big deal, but nice to see Tesla getting its act together.
HITC.
Hopefully, it's finding support on this rising 200, and it could very well just be building these higher lows here. You know, we don't know. If this market made a real pivot and this morning was the official bottom, which nobody knows, Tesla will end up shaping up, looking real nice, and something to buy later on. Again, no predictions. Yeah, or you just sometimes you got to how do I put it? You just got to scale out a little slower. Scale out a little slower. You get a 10% move, sell 10, 20% of your position, and then use a moving average to trail. Like if you had bought AMPS and you got a little bit antsy, right? Well, put it on a 10-minute chart. And don't, close more when it closes below the 20 on the 10-minute. And it didn't do that all day. It hardly ever even closed below the 10. I mean, for 20 minutes. And then it continued on up. And even today, you'd have already sold a little piece and you would have had much bigger patience. You would have been like, all right, well, I'm not using the 10-minute chart anymore. I'm using the hourly. And then you would have been maybe looking to sell a little bit more if it closed below the 10 on the hourly. Or something like that, right? Little slight variations of that. Yeah, it helps you remain a little bit more patient. I actually, I like the 10-minute chart. I got to thank Ripster for that one. Sometimes I'll just use the 10-minute chart. It helps me be much more patient. Just use a moving average. I know it sounds simple to say, right? It's simple to say, hard to do, but most definitely not impossible. You got to know what your loss is before you ever get in, and then you got to let your flowers work. Let your flowers work and cut your weeds. And AMPS was a clear flower. And then again, what did we talk about? On breakouts, 3 to 5 day momentum bursts. Again, and at a 20% move, I would take off a little bit more. 10%, take off a tiny little touch. 20%, take off a tiny little bit. And if you somehow catch up, 40%, take off more. But yeah, 3 to 5 day momentum bursts. And then you'd sell more after the third or the fifth day ish, somewhere after a healthy percent gain, and then you'd be trailing the rest because I bet your average was well under 1277, which is now what the 10-day is on the daily. So it's like, okay, sold a tiny piece at 1350s, and then you sold, maybe another 10 or 20% today, and you'd still have half your position, and even your stop would be, well above your average. So yeah, 1240 was your average, even better. Feeling a little regretful with Oxy, but I wish I would have pulled that trigger yesterday, man. My risk was so small down there too, like 30 or 40 cents. I would have been able to size up quite a bit on this undercut rally. Set up.
CGSI.
Would have been nice. Been eyeballing this thing for damn days and just didn't pull the trigger. And that happens to me a lot too, guys. I'm usually pretty good at finding where money's going, where money's leaving, or I do a good job of just like narrowing my focus on just a handful of names, and that helps me a lot. Not get the bobblehead syndrome. But I just sometimes I get gun shy too and just didn't pull the trigger. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be gun shy in a healthy market. I mean, okay, um, let me take that back. It's a piece of shit market still, but we're uptrending, and if you came across a really beautiful setup, you know, absolutely textbook, then don't be gun shy, right? I mean, that's the last thing you want to do. Size properly. That should take away, that gun shy feeling. If you're feeling gun shy, it's probably because you're trying to do something that you shouldn't be, which is take bigger size than you should. But if you understand, market direction, what sectors are still holding up well, what stocks look pretty good, what stocks are bucking the market trend, and you're willing to size properly, and you know what your loss is before you enter, that should take away some of that gun shy feeling. You shouldn't be feeling gun shy because you've studied the setup. And if you feel gun shy, then that just means one thing: you need to study the setup a little bit more, become a little bit more familiar and intimate with it, and then, you know, like it's your baby, right? And again, breakouts are the thing that I've studied the most, but we're in a horrible market, so breakouts don't necessarily work. So undercut rallies work better in a bear market. Dip buy setups, before the crowd gets in, is is a better setup in this kind of environment. So there are alternate ways to enter into things, but you also have to study those too. And no matter what kind of entry you take, position sizing still is the one of the most critical things anyway. So you got to be focused on position sizing no matter what. I mean, literally, no matter what. So position sizing shouldn't be, that's important. You got to be absolutely conscious about position sizing, regardless of the kind of setup you're taking. But understanding, nice setup, nice sector, market's healthy, it's already in an uptrend, it's a tight entry, because you've studied it, right? You've seen the setup 1,000 times, and then when it comes, and then and it works well, like buying Lily and then it gapping up on me overnight and great news coming, that's fine, you know. And again, usually news follows the trend. Like I said with Apple or Lily, Lily's trend is up, and then they get good, something positive happens for that name or that sector. Apple trend is down, and then they get bad iPhone news, right? And you're not surprised by one being good news that's in an uptrend versus one being bad news in a downtrend. You know, Wish started its downtrend, and then it's posted bad earnings every single quarter, right? EMPH was in an uptrend, or basically in an uptrend and in a consolidation, and then they posted a surprise beat, right? So don't be too surprised at the news when it's good and the stock was in an uptrend, and don't be surprised about the news if it's bad when the stock was in a downtrend. And then if you've studied the setup over and over and over, like buying Lily and then having it work this well, just reinforces the setup that I already know really well, right? It reinforces it in my brain. It reinforces it in my pocketbook, right? All the places you'd want to be like, yep, those are the setups that work. They're tried and true. It's a name that's been strong, been getting institutional support, doesn't really care about market direction, it's pretty tight, it's slow, so I got to make sure I, maybe size up a little bit, and I know what my risk is regardless. And, once you nail that down, then the rest is, it's just a matter of patience. And if I'm wrong, I cut the loser. And I know exactly where I'm going to cut the thing before I even enter. And I know basically with, little roundabout fashion about how much I'll lose if I'm wrong. And the rest is just, the confidence comes from that. Confidence comes from having executed a bunch of times. And then eventually that gun-shy feeling goes away because, you've seen it work. It works. It doesn't work in all environments, and so that's why you have to be a good market listener. And that's why, if you've ever guys have studied the Cancelim method, the M stands for market, right? And that's literally the most important part, because stocks will just go up if you're in a healthy market. Some stocks just literally go up because you're in a healthy market. Position sizing is the holy grail. I used to just sit and watch the move and be scared to take the trade. It was the breakthrough, since the technicals are the easy part. But why is position such a mystery? It's simple math. Yeah, you know why? Because everybody is too busy following the next guy on Twitter who posts his flashy gains day trading. And everybody, gets into that mentality of day trading, and they're like, oh my God, this guy made 20 grand, 40 grand, 100 grand today. Day traders, right? And so you get into the allure of, I want to make money, and I want to make money now, right? And so guys just completely ignore the whole part about sizing improperly. Like they just, avoid doing the right thing, which is size improperly and let time be the thing that pays you, and not an uncomfortable position size, right? Not to mention that breakouts fail a lot. So, even in a healthy market, breakouts fail. So knowing that, you have to size them properly. Boy, Oxy is acting pretty dang good today, man. Shame. What a fucking shame. This would have been an awesome trade. I would have sized up into this undercut rally too. I just didn't pull the trigger. But I would have definitely taken like a, I don't know, 10,000 shares probably or more. But that sucks. I just never pulled the trigger. Be interesting if Netflix pushes up again tomorrow.
FORZ.
Looks like Uncle Warren turned the his buy algos back on. That's too freaking bad. But yeah, when people finally figure out that position sizing is pretty much it'll eliminate so many of your problems. Trading gets way easier, so much easier. And like there was a period in I don't know what it was, like June or July. Let me look. When the SPY did its little, so it was like July. I had 22 positions open. I had 22 positions open. Why? Because I was sized into everything properly. I was literally sized into everything properly, and that's how you can have, so many positions open. Not one position's freaking me out. Not one position's got me in will threaten me with big red. I treat every individual position, every entry as its own, thing. I don't really, think about, the market too much as I'm in my positions. I just treat every individual position for its own, validity and its own price action. And, you know, those are my thoughts. Like when I get into a stock, I buy it. I know where I'd be out if I'm wrong, and then I make sure I size properly. And as I begin to gain traction in the market, and as more nice setups, proliferate, and you get like all these, you start to scan, and you're like, oh, that looks nice, that looks nice, that looks nice. Like little dip buy setup, little low cheat setup, little undercut rally setup, little breakout setup, like all the variations of ways you like to get into a chart. And you begin to gain traction in a healthy uptrend in a market. And in July, the market was in a nice little uptrend, right? It was in a nice little uptrend, and I was able to get myself into 22 open bright green positions. And again, guys, when I've got 22 positions open, you better believe I'm on leverage. That's not just I'm on. I have more money at work that's even in my account. So, you want to talk about making money fast? I'm making way more money than you would be day trading if I have a nice positive green day in the market, and there are times where all 20 of my positions are all going up, and not only are they going up,
GG.
sometimes they're gapping up overnight. So it's like I'll wake up, and 20
GG.
positions or of my 22 names, 18 of
GG.
them have gapped up, even if it's just a little bit. But it's like, now all of a sudden my money's gapping up because I'm using, leverage. I'm not even, and again, not one of those positions had me in real danger of ugly red when I opened it. Right? So it's like you look at it like that, and eventually you're in a healthy market and you're levered up, and it's great. I'm waking up to, I mean, the monetary amount is irrelevant, but I'm waking up to a nice little 1-2% portfolio gain every single morning. An extra 30,000 or 20,000 gap up. Thanks for the 20 grand. And it's like your positions aren't even moving; they've just gapped up, and you still got the whole day for them to work. And you're just trend following. And in a healthy market, guys, it's free money. That's why I swing. I love catching gap ups. I love catching gap ups. And you get that a lot in a healthy market. Yeah, I mean, realistically, I mean, I've never had a seven figure trade before, but I mean, I believe I can get myself in enough solid positions that I can have, seven figures open between, 10 positions. No, not a problem, or more, multiple seven figures with 20 positions or something like that. If you got 3, 4, $5 million at work, because you're levered up, I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to make seven figures. And again, day trading's great, but it's not the same. And then doing seven figures, but without being in some crazy stress because you're like looking to do it on one ticker. No, I'm not looking to do it on one ticker. That would be super fucking stressful. All that money in one name, and then you can't even sleep at night because God forbid they drop bad news or something, and then your 50% of your money's in one stock. Like, that's insane, right? But if you've got your money split, across 15, 20 names, like not one name's doing anything that would cause you like any kind of panic or pause. It's PBF, man. Slow down, player. Hopefully this PBF tightens up. Not the most liquid name, but it's not bad. It's more than enough for me. Would be nice to see this thing pull back a few red days in a row, find support on the rising 1020 on the daily, and give me a tight little entry. I went over this kind of a setup earlier. So like find support on the rising 200, pushes up, and then pulls back a few days to get tight. And XLE gave a textbook example of this kind of setup right down here, right? So there's your PBF. Find support on the rising 200, pushes back up, couple of days, find support on the rising 20, and I actually remember buying this one at 56. I bought this one on 1.3. Same with ERX. I didn't really recognize at the time that every other oil and gas name had identical setups, but they did. Do 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 do. Dun 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 dun. Do I know that there's an ETF called Bout? The breakout ETF? Yeah, it's doing the opposite of that. But I don't even know why you know about this. It's trading 1,900 shares today at $27. I mean, this shouldn't ever even come across your radar, or if it does, you need to adjust your scan settings. Because nothing like that should be coming up on your radar at all. You shouldn't ever know about Bout, you know? It's about the most piece of shit stock I've ever seen, or ETF. That's what it's about. It's about the biggest piece of shit ever. It's TTD, man. Something about this TTD's got my attention. Don't ask me what, but something about this TTD is fucking interesting. Boy, crude is looking great. Oxy's looking. Oh, man, I've been trying to get situated in that name again. I wanted to buy it up here too. Well, you know, one of these days back through like 65 or something, and then it just failed. Mm. Uranium name's also acting really well, also. Oh, it's a good barometer for breakouts in general? Get out of here. I mean, that's not necessarily true either. Whoever told you that. I mean, some breakouts are working, guys. Some aren't. Some are. But I don't know that that's totally true. You know, Benny, if you're still in the room, you were mentioning Weatherford yesterday. Look at this thing, perking right back up today. It needs a little bit of time, but broke down kind of ugly, but recovered right back. Right freaking back. This is an egg or a tennis ball. That's a tennis ball. And you want to pay attention to tennis balls, because they bounce. And they generally like to go higher. Yeah, yeah. It's not bad. If it sets up a little longer, let me check how liquid it is. I can't trade it, unfortunately. Well, maybe I could. It's kind of thin, though. I can't touch this shit. But it's nice to see. I'm glad I told my buddy to sell some of his Sava yesterday at 52. I think he's still holding like 20 shares. Nothing crazy size, but he doesn't really play with a big account. So, you know, every dollar counts right now as he's trying to grow. And it was nice of him to have trimmed at least half. I don't know what he's doing with the rest of it right now, but a break below yesterday's lows, and I would probably consider cutting the rest of it if I were him. Hey, Laugh, you on here? Nope. Hey, Laugher. Nope. He's not on here. Guys, I don't really got too much to do. I'm just gonna monitor my my two positions, and that's it. There's really not a whole lot for me to do. I'm happy to stay on. You know, answer a couple questions if you guys have any. Otherwise, hopefully this market gives us this oversold rally we're looking for, and then in the meantime, you know, names will set up, right? Potential names that can take our market higher. You know, I'd like to see Solars continue to lead the way. just because they've already made the biggest move. Um, so personally, that's what I'd like to see. But if these energy names are going to set up again, then cool. We'll play the energy names. I mean, I don't really care where the setups come from, but it's crazy how much crude's up today, though. Usually, you don't see 4% days. They're not that common. 4% down days have been way more common. VRTX, huh? Oh, BRTX. Well, VRTX looks pretty good too. Yeah, yeah. So since I've already done well, would it make more sense for me to just sit out until the major indexes are above the main trend lines and enjoy your time off until then? Yes, it would make more sense. But, one, I still enjoy trading. And two, I want to be around for names like LLY. I do. Like, I want to be here for, setups like LLY. I mean, this one's has, I mean, I don't necessarily need to tell you guys the monetary amount, but LLY's has treated me really, 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 really well. Multiple year salary in just a day. So I want to catch shit like that. I'm not too good for the money. And same thing, I want to be able to buy these undercut rallies in Oxy. It would be great. And I want to see CCJ go to, like, I want to be around. I really do enjoy trading. And yeah, there are better opportunities, but the thing is guys, I don't trade with 50 million. I trade with a tenth of that. So, like I want to be around to catch these setups and study and learn the variety of setups and understand sit out power in shitty markets and understand position sizing in a shitty market and understand what works and what doesn't in a shitty market, so that when the market finally does change, I'll realize how much simpler making money will be. But then when the times turn again, I'll have participated in this environment, and when the phoenix rises, I'll be way better prepared, and not gun shy, right? It's like I don't want to just take time off during this bad period, because this bad period is still shown me, hey, take your setups when you get them, and then be patient when you're in them, and then do nothing when there's nothing to do. And then I don't want to be gun shy because I haven't traded for 3 months, and then the market turns, and I'm not prepared for it, and I haven't taken a trade in 2 months because I've just been vacationing, and then I'm not ready to execute, because I was so used to a bad environment that now I'm not prepared to execute in a good environment. Like, that's not really the scenario I want to end up in. And again, I absolutely love the market, guys. I mean, I don't have a second job. I don't have another career. I've got 2 dogs and a girlfriend, and some, family and friends. And, I see them when I see them, and otherwise my girlfriend's this market and I'm making her my bee, So I enjoy what I do. I love what I do, and I won't stop doing it just because the environment's difficult. It's a great time to study. But yeah, I mean, anytime I get a 3-day weekend, you better believe I'm out of here. I don't stay around. I go on a vacation, or, if I felt like the market was truly, not gonna change course any one of these days, then I would be taking time off. But honestly, down too much too fast, and I believe we're due for an oversold bounce. And then if we get that, I want to be around to figure out what the future leaders are going to be, because guys, believe it or not, we're probably closer to the bottom in these indices than most people would like to tell you. In November last year, it was all, glory, and, the market is great, things are never going down, and euphoria. And I recognized quickly, man, things underneath the hood look like shit. And then, in this environment, everybody's like, oh, prepare for the worst bear market ever. The market's just going to tank and it's just not coming back, and everything's doom and gloom. But yet, you know, we can find setups like CALX and AMPS and Lily and FSLR and EMPH, and I want to be there for when the market's done tanking and these future leaders decide to really take off. I don't want to be on vacation because, I'm gonna miss that seven figure, trade, and I want to be there for that. I don't want to be on vacation. I'd like to get so great at my job that I can eventually own my own yacht and trade off my yacht just like Christian. But that's not going to happen if you just take time off and think you don't have to study or stay in tune with the market. And again, I still enjoy taking trades, man. I'm a degenerate. I come from day trading. You realize I used to click the button, like I used to place like 500 orders a day, man. Sometimes more. And that's why I was kicked off TD Ameritrade, because I was just scalping and going absolutely crazy. So like in my blood, I'm still a day trader, right? So not necessarily a day trader, but those are my roots, and I like taking trades. I really do. I enjoy taking trades. So I want to take safe trades. I want to take good risk reward trades. I want my trading to be boring, but I want to take trades.
Barth.
I really do. Yeah. Yep. No, you don't gain leverage unless you close the position for positive, and then of course you get 4-1. So, um, but yeah, I want to be on leverage, and again I get 4-1. So, you know, like if it were up to me, I'd like to have $10 million at work. You know, that's the objective. But I need to do it in a healthy market, and I'm not going to have $1 million position. I'm going to have a bunch of 3 and 4 and 5 and $600,000 positions and $700,000. Like max, and then work myself up and slowly gain more exposure as the sector that I'm in and in the stocks that I'm in are working. I'm not just going to up and do $10 million of exposure in one day, but over the course of a couple of weeks, as stocks are leaving nice setups, nice bases, and then every individual trade has its own. I trade it for its own merits. I trade it for its own setup. You know, no matter how I get into it, whether it's a low cheat setup or a dip buy setup or a breakout setup, every trade has its own merits, and has its own risk, and as long as I'm seeing things well and sizing into things properly and gaining traction on the names that I have open and that are winners, then I'd continue to open up more exposure, no problem. Mentally, no problem. I don't mind opening up another position and risking 4 or 5K. If I'm already up 100,000 in the 3-4 names I have open, right? Like no big deal. And the market's proving itself to you. It's healthy. It's in an uptrend. I've keyed in on a certain sector that's working well. Semiconductor, solar names, energy names, whatever. It's like you've done a good job scanning. You've done a good job, building exposure or progressive exposure, as Mark Minervini teaches. And then you have a healthy environment, added to it. But yeah, and Lorenzo, even yeah, I mean, the market could really take a year, but here's the thing: even in down markets, there's still things that are going up, and if that means that I have to learn what a beautiful setup looks like and execute to the short side, then that's what I have to learn to do. That's not really my style right now, and I don't do parabolic shorts either. And we have nothing really going parabolic in this market. Everything's going tanking in this market, but there are short setups too, and I want to become a full, well-rounded trader. And so sometimes trading in, a crappy environment, when things are going down, or when the market's going up and looking for relative weakness and nice little bear flags and nice tight consolidations underneath the moving averages, or a stock's below its moving averages in a nice setup, and then it posts earnings and they're shit. I want to be able to short that thing. And so there's always opportunity, but I want to be well rounded to the short and to the long side. And then sooner rather than later, I want to start maybe dabbling in the futures market, learning how to do some, learning maybe options, so it's like I want to really, really become, well-rounded in the craft. And so, it just takes time. It takes studying. It takes patience. But taking time off is not what it takes, And again, I absolutely love my career. I love my job, man. I love what I do, and it's how I make my money. So yeah, you won't see me taking too much time off, just because again I enjoy this too much. Trading's, it's kept me out of trouble. I could have easily gone back to selling weed when I got home from prison, but the market's kept me out of trouble.
DTGI.
And I'm thankful for that. And I love what I do, and I'm good at it, so I'm not going to just stop. Besides, I'm not good enough at it. I still don't short. I'd like to learn to short. I'd like to learn how to open up options trades. I'd love to. I like one of the things that I talked about a few weeks ago. I'm still trying to learn how to properly hedge a portfolio. Oh great, the dollar's falling. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I just got an alert that I broke this day's low. That's great. TLT's still going up too. That's great. That's exactly what we want to see, man. We need to see this dollar come down big time. Big time. But yeah, I'm still trying to learn how to properly hedge my portfolio so that I can sit in my long setups. Like, had I nailed my entry on FSLR, and then it's pulling back, and then maybe I'm in some other stocks from earlier with really nice averages that I just don't want to give up. I want to learn to trade QID or SSD, or to the long side, if if I feel like I have to hedge. These are still things that I have to study. Breakout setups, undercut rally setups, dip buy setups. They're all nice variations of setups, but there's still so much more to trading that will like really catapult you to like that next level. Keeping a nice steady equity curve. That takes studying and putting in some long hours, and I'm happy to do it because I love what I do. And I don't just want to be good at what I do. I mean, I'm already good at what I do, but I want to be the best in my own mind, whatever that means. And I'm very competitive, so I want to be the absolute best trader that that I can be. Like I said, I'm not really worried about anybody else. I don't really give a shit about anybody else's success, but I've got mentors who do and have done incredibly well, and sometimes you have to ask yourself, like, why not me? But that why not me, it requires a ton of time behind the screens and studying. And it's why I won't take time off. I take time off when there's 3-day weekends. And again, I don't necessarily trade for the money, but I want to own a Ferrari too. I want to own a Ferrari and a Porsche 911 and a really nice mansion one day, and I want to be cool paying 7% interest rates as well on my house. And so it's just, you get so rich it doesn't even fucking matter. That would be cool, but that ain't gonna happen if you're just taking time off and not studying. Again, I say that things. Those are things that, like, to keep myself motivated. I'd like to own a private jet someday and a yacht and be able to support 12 kids. But process is more important than anything. The money comes if you focus on the process. The minute you start focusing on the money, it becomes much more difficult to trade. But if you just focus on the process, if you focus on your position sizing, and if you're a good listener to the market, you know, good things happen. Really, truly, good things happen. Crude, man, having itself a evening. Yeah, buddy. Oxy, man, I'm such a bum for this. So, and you see, like, I'm staring at charts sometimes, like the perfect chart before they go up higher the next day, but I also don't execute. I get gun shy.
Teapot.
I get clammy hands too, or sometimes I just don't pull the trigger, despite, having studied the setup a dozen times. But then you see it work, and, I'm not just taking time off, I'm seeing the setup work, and I'm building that confidence for next time, right? The next time a setup like this comes across my screen, so I'm ready to execute, and with time, it just gets easier and easier and easier. And that's what I want. I want trading to feel like second nature. When I used to train martial arts or jiu-jitsu, I got really good, incredibly good. And then I had to stop because I had a hernia. But, I got really good. But I didn't get good because, just some natural ability. I got good because I put in tons of time. And then eventually it got really easy. And then, I'd go to tournaments and crush motherfuckers. I mean, that's just really how it works, guys. You're competing against other people who are working, super hard in this market. And the people who work the hardest are the ones who come out on top. You're competing against really smart minds. And by the way, it's also why I trade stocks. Because stocks is where all the dumbasses trade. It's literally where all the gamblers come to play. It's where all the people who just want to get rich quick come to play, and they've got no real edge. They've got no real edge in the market. So that's why I haven't traded futures yet, because futures is where the smart people play, and I'm not quite there yet. But it's like I like competing against people who don't have patience. I like competing against people who don't understand a proper setup. I like competing against people who are impatient. It makes my job that much easier. And over time, guys, I promise, it does get a whole lot easier. You guys have been following me, some of you guys, for a couple weeks now. You guys know I'm not doing anything fancy at all. Literally. Nothing. And it's funny because, like, one trade like Lily has made up for, 5, 6, 7 little paper cut losses, and then taken that money and multiplied it by 40. So that's all you need. You need one trade every now and again, and none of it's magic. Holy crude, man, this thing is going fucking nuts. What a day for crude. And if you guys put in that time too, every one of you guys in this room is going to be making tons of money as well. Patience with yourself. Just show some patience with yourself. And study these setups and show up to the room, and we go over them every single day. I promise they work. We just got to be patient for a better market, but they definitely work. Foxy goes to this 64, 65 area, I'll be pretty frustrated. Which it probably will, but
PPCV.
yeah. Well, Amps was really pretty yesterday on the breakout. It's not so pretty right now. It's gone. It's strong. You know, it's not pretty in the sense that we can buy it right now. But damn, it's strong. Well, bouncy, bouncy day. Um, you took LLY yesterday, intraday. Most moves happen in the first few hours, as I understand it. At this point in the day, what are you looking for? Tight candles on the hourly? No, I mean you can't really buy Lilly up here. You know, it gapped up on not earnings. It gapped up on Alzheimer's news from Biogen. So not even news related to them. So, you know, I was in it for a swing. Um, and then I obviously got lucky with the Biogen news, and I didn't realize that that would affect Lilly, which but great that it did, but I didn't know that it would. And at this point, you know, I would need to see it go sideways for a couple days, and maybe it gives the old Scotland fish hook setup. But you know, I don't know. I wouldn't touch it up here at all. I mean, I'm sitting on a basically sub 312 average. I wouldn't fuck around with it. Yeah, in general, before I get in, yeah, I like tight on the daily, preferably. It's how you'll create even less risk, but um, then on the hourly, you know, you can get a really nice hourly setup as well. I wonder if I can go back this far on Lee. Let me see if I can go back that far on the hourly. Okay, so Lee down here, even though it was still below moving averages, so in March, this thing put in its low. And then it tried to retest those lows in May and couldn't do it. Then perked right back up and pulled back and put in a higher low, right? On 525, it put in a tight daily candlestick, you know, and it refused to break below 524 low. So this actually was a nice setup, in my opinion, on the hourly chart. Now it's still below the the 50 and the 200 on the daily, but again, its low was in March, and then it had put in higher lows on the daily until that point. Plus, I was already familiar, and I knew that China names had basically bottomed. So, you know, again, when you focus on sector, you know, what names will lead that sector higher? Well, if it's a China sector, well, it's, there's only a handful of Chinese names, Baba, PDD, Lee, Neo, XPEV, etc. So when I saw this little setup here, this was a great buy. You could have bought it over these 2 days highs, or first hourly candlestick to make a high. So you would have been buying, basically 22.90s, 23 with a stop at 22.35, 65-cent risk, right on the hourly chart. And then again, that's fairly tight. And now all the moving averages are starting to turn up. And then again, what do you end up getting? Well, you end up getting 100% move. It gets above all its moving averages on the hourly and then never looks back. I mean, at all. So, not until it goes 100%. And this is a entry I didn't take, but it's something that I would take, even if it's below moving averages, because I understand what sector it's in. I understand that China names have bottomed. I understand that this thing put in its low in March. And again, guys, always important to remember, your future leaders tend to bottom before the market, right? So the market was still struggling, and all these names put in massive volume for their lows, right? And then it tried to retest even when the market was struggling in May, and these names refused to see lower. And then again, you couple that with KWeb and FXI, the ETFs looking pretty good. At that point, it's just a matter of being patient, and letting the setup work. It wasn't perfect on the daily, but it's definitely an alternate for entering into something just using the hourly. And then again, with understanding China is bottomed, right? Or for the most part, it's bottomed. It would have been on 526. The entry would have been on 526 over basically 525's high, and even 524's high. Anywhere above there would have been absolutely gold. That's TTD, man. Wow, this Twitter, man. What the hell? Twitter's acting well. Incredible.
NLBS.
Meta. Meta's a turd. What's it doing? Finally going up today? About damn time. It's about damn time that name goes up. And again, like names like Meta, Google, you know, I mean, this is good to see. You know, they carry so much weight to the general markets. If they start to bounce, and by the way, some of these moves down, like not many times in history is Google going to go down 50. It's only down 35%, but
TVCC.
not often are stocks going to that are, in my opinion, Google and like seeing Meta. I mean, this shit is just, it's not often, a mega cap like this that is so well known. And I don't know. I got to look more into like Meta's fundamentals, but I can't imagine they don't make money. So I'm not sure what the fuck's going on, but no, FSLR is not ready. Not only is FSLR not ready, neither is our market. It's not coming out of a tight day. Yesterday wasn't tight. The day before wasn't tight. Today's not tight. It's still in the range. The market still sucks ass. There's nothing to do here. You just got to be more patient, and that's okay. Like you're at least you're looking at the right names. Yeah, INSW as well. What's funny is I was actually gonna buy. Okay, so I really like this little mini flag on the daily, and I was gonna buy it right over 2280s, and it gapped up over that, and I never bought it at like 2330s at all. Talk about a fucking mistake. I hate chasing gap ups. Even if they're small ones, I didn't do it, and boy, sometimes I need to learn to stop being such a puss. My God. I'd still be in this thing from down here, because it's surfing the 20. Every time it pulls back, find support on the rising 20, I'd still be in this trade. I probably would have sold some, 27s or something, like, or even, yeah, probably 27s, probably. I would have been patient enough to wait for that. And then, yeah, I'd still be in the trade. I'd still be in the trade with at least half that position, which is unfortunate, I just never pulled the trigger, but I did like it, and I did notice its strength. I noticed this initial move up, and then it pulled back. Found support on the rising 200. Tried to undercut it, but instantly tennis balled. And remember what I tell you guys: is it a tennis ball or an egg? And you need to pay attention to the tennis balls. And this thing went up, consolidated, and on the hourly, it looked a little like that. It just went sideways for very briefly. It wasn't going up anymore. It was just going sideways. And then pretty much right over that area, you would have wanted to long. Here's your supply. Right over that area, you long it. And then I wanted to buy it through the pivot, and it just gapped up over, and I never bought it. I was like, nah, I won't buy it. And I passed. And I've got some slight regrets. Yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5 tight days, something like that. As long as the move hasn't been crazy, like FSLR, okay, up here, it essentially went sideways for 5 days. But look at how extended, and look at the, the distance between the, where price is taking place from the 200 up 50% off of the 200. I didn't want to buy it over 130. Right? I needed the thing to go sideways even longer. And now it's starting to look better. It's starting to look even better. Like, is this really a base? Is this like a new base? No, not really. This is just it's not enough, right? and the moving averages aren't tight. Where something like INSW, right? Look at how tight everything was still down here. Right? Look at how tight the 10, 20, and 50 are, right? Price is only 15% off of the 200 versus 50% off the 200. So, you're not really buying something very extended. You're just buying a nice chart versus something like, FSLR. As strong as FSLR was, I can't buy something up here. It's just, look at how wide and loose the moving averages are. Compare that to why I liked Lilly so much yesterday. Look at how tight the moving averages were yesterday. Right? Incredibly tight. Price only trading 6%, 7% off of the 200-day moving average. And look at how nice and tight the 10, 20, 50 are. They're basically all laying right on top of each other. Something to remember. So it's not just about tight days, it's also about how tight are those moving averages, right? FSLR had a couple of nice tight days, but it's moving averages are still extended. Linearity, remember that. That's also why do you think I have so much interest in TTD? Right? Look at how nice and tight all these moving averages are. If this thing gets up above the 200, and then, these things will be super fucking tight. That's why I have so much interest in TTD. Not to mention that the 200, it's flattening out. Right? So if price action starts to get up above the 200, the larger time frame, then, you can essentially catch a nice long extended move. You could end up buying TTD at, call it $70, and you might be in this thing for, if you're patient enough and you want to use the 200, you could be in the thing all year long. If the market finally ends up bottoming and TTD ends up working, you could be in TTD for fucking a year plus, and you might never trigger a tax event, and pay less in taxes on an awesome trade, all because you're using the 200. Yeah, FOMO, yeah, it's just people don't necessarily they're not super intimate and familiar with the setup. Like, I say the word intimate because that sucker needs to be your, if you're a girl, it needs to be your boyfriend. If you're a dude, it needs to be your girlfriend. Like, you need to know and love the setup and know the ins and outs of it intimately, And, there's slight variations of the same setup. Really, it's just slight variations of the same shit, but knowing the variations of it, having studied it, that's what really matters. And the rest is just, people's opinion, which we avoid like the plague. People's opinion does not put money in our pockets, I'll tell you that. Like, this Twitter going up. Don't ask me why I'm interested in this piece of shit that doesn't make money, but it's acting different lately. It either means Elon Musk will be forced to buy it or not forced to buy it. I'm not sure which. That's why I'm avoiding it. I'm not sure which of the two it is. I'm pretty much done here for the day, guys. I don't know what else there is to do. Oh, NOC coming back, huh? This might end up setting up nicely in a couple more weeks. I had a failed breakout, and I bought it too. I bought it up here at 505 and then got stopped out. Yep. I didn't have big position size, though. Market sucked ass when I bought it. I think I had like... I don't remember, like maybe 400 shares or something. It was literally a meaningless loss. But I had a really nice, what I thought, daily base. But if it sets up again, it would be even nicer. Yeah, There's definitely more Twitter bots than Twitter says there is. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, they say less than 5%. That's total and utter bullshit. I mean, I use Twitter daily. I mean, yesterday I put out a tweet or whatever, and then this same account in like on 8 different of tweets or replies that I had to people replied the same or put the exact same identical message. And that, no way that just happens to me. I mean, I'm followed by, a fake Hugh Henney and a fake Notorious and a fake Ryan and a fake Kulamai. I'm followed by all of a bunch of fake accounts of from the real people. I'm followed by a fake Madass. I'm followed by a bunch of fakes, bots. So, Elon's got a legit gripe because, what you have to remember is that Twitter is now basically an advertising business. They run ad campaigns, or not ad campaigns, but like, they run ads, or they have like, as you scroll down your Twitter feed, you got like some promoted things, and those are all paid for. But if you're if you're paying, for a commercial essentially, like if I were a ad, somebody trying to advertise, that I got TVs for sale, and I'm like going to a platform that's like, yeah, we've got your shit's gonna be seen by 1 million eyes, but then come to find out that, 800,000 of those eyes are fake. Well, then what are you really paying for? You're paying because you think it's gonna reach you think it's gonna reach 1 million people, but really it's only reaching 200,000 people, and that's what Elon's basically saying. You know, they're basically skewing their numbers, and that's basically crushing. And here's the thing: if Twitter admits to something like that, it's basically them telling their advertisers like, hey, you guys have been overpaying, you know, for whatever promotional campaign you're paying for, and really not nearly as many real people are seeing it as we're letting you on to believe. We're telling you, hey, there's, 2 billion people on Twitter, but only 500 million of them are real. Well, it's like, you're, as an advertiser, you're paying because you think 2 billion people are going to see it, not because 500 million are going to see it. So, it's a big difference, right? It should make a big difference in the price you pay for your advertisement. Twitter's really an ad business. Elon Musk is followed by Elon Musk. I guarantee it. I mean, he's probably followed by 13 of them or more. Like legitimately. But, yeah, I'm going to get out of here, guys. Like I said, we're just going to let things kind of set up a little bit better. I'm in 2 positions right now, CCJ and LLY. I don't know that I mentioned to you guys how I played CCJ. I brought it up in chat in Discord a few days ago. So essentially CCJ, and I bought it twice now, and so I brought my average up to 25.99. So basically this igniting candle on 824, so this is called I remember Lance told me this one time. It's a point of reference, right? And so the move started right here, and then the low was 24.70. And so as this stock was pulling back and approaching that, remember, breakouts really haven't been working. So on Friday last week, I had bought some CCJ as it was turning back up as an undercut rally setup. So literally down here were my first buys. I had like a 24.90 average right there, right? And then as the thing was pushing back up, and then this morning I added a little piece over yesterday's high. So my average is 25.99 right now. It's back to being a pretty big position because I want to be in this name, and again, breakouts aren't working. But it's the only 2 positions that I have for now, and we're just going to be patient and see if they, pan out over the next couple days. This one's got me comfortably in the green again, which is always nice. But I will, I'll be fairly tight with my stop. I won't get too aggressive, and I'm hoping the market bounces for the rest of the week. If it does, hopefully CCJ will begin to set up some more, and I can add a couple more times to it. But for now, it's a bigger than a full size position with the 2 ads, and yeah, I'll just be patient with it, and we'll see kind of how it pans out. So that, and I still have half my position in LLY, so I trimmed some yesterday in after hours, and we'll just continue to be patient with the rest, because chances are I might be in Lily for, if it ends up working, I'll probably be in Lily at least for the rest of this year. It looks like, if it doesn't fail. So I should be in Lily probably for the next 3 or 4 months would be my guess. So, which is always nice. That's a nice feeling. If it doesn't stop me out, that's nice. And the 20-day moving average is now basically at my average. So we'll just be patient, and we'll see what ends up happening down the road. No predictions, But anyway, hopefully today was helpful, and we'll see you guys back tomorrow. All right. Have a good one, everybody. Till tomorrow.